Manjeet, great to have you with us. Manjeet is the Director of Product Management at ServiceNow. His expertise includes intelligent automation, advanced analytics, process mining, and hyper automation, which means that I'm expecting some really tough questions for Manjeet from the audience here, because this man can cover it all. And he's a thought leader and actively participates in conferences and webinars like this to share his learning and around process mining and hyper automation. Manjeet, on behalf of our global audience, I'm very excited about our presentation. It's a real honor to have you here with us today.
Jose, thanks for such a warm welcome. And you're asking about location, so I'm dialing in from Santa Clara, California. It's early morning for me. Hi everyone, very excited to be here and share some view on the process mining. Basically, what is our take from ServiceNow standpoint, and I'll give you my kind of personal perspective from the practitioner standpoint, as Jose, you were mentioning. All right, so without any further delay, let's dive in. So I'm sharing my screen, hoping that is okay. So as you know, the title for this session is Journey from Process Mining to Business-Driven Continual Process Optimization. And I'll unpack this in a few minutes. But what you are going to learn in next half an hour or so is we'll quickly start by understanding, okay, what is process optimization, why it is important, so that we are all on the same page. And then I'll touch base on a simple framework that how do you start with process mining by getting visibility and understanding into your process, and then go into the process optimizations, which are the actions, and then tracking the business value. I'll give a couple of use cases around that when you do the optimization activities, how to think from the people, processes, and tools, the classic golden triangle standpoint. And then I'll end the session with some of the learning takeaways and what is my take, where process mining will be in next 2 to 3 years. All right, so with that, let me start here. As you know, as a user, you know, in my whatever product and services I use in my personal life, as well as when I go to work. Hey, truth is, we all want great experiences. And if you are building product and services, you want to deliver great experiences for your customers and for your employees, because experience is at the key. We have seen in the COVID, you know, we all went remote, and how important it is for us to that our services are available, our processes are simple and smooth, because that's what drives customer loyalty. That's what drives employee engagement, and ultimately, you know, set your company for a differentiation and everything. But the question becomes that what are the key drivers when we talk about the customer experience? So in my view, there are multiple levers, because to deliver a great experience, you have to have your services optimized all the time. It is not a one-time activity, because you know, every organization changes quickly. Processes get complex, fragmented, and whatnot. So here are the 5 things that I have put in for you, that when you think about the optimization, one lever is you look at the, hey, where do I have the bottleneck in my process? And you start looking at how we can reduce the bottleneck. And this would also mean maybe eliminating some of the process step completely. Another important aspect is all these automation tool set is evolving. So how can we find out automation opportunities across our services and product, and you know, whatever you are delivering for your employees or customers? And then the most important part is people are the key when we think about the optimization, because I've seen a lot of us put too much focus on just the process, but hey, ultimately, end of the day, people have to interact with those processes. People are who are executing on those processes. So it's important to understand that, is it a process improvement or, you know, process change, versus it is more of a coaching and training and leveling of your support staff and your employees and whosoever is involved. And ultimately, you want to deliver better services at low cost and with a high quality. So this is still a high level. Don't worry, we'll continue to deep dive further in the track. Okay, so with that premise, the question becomes why every process is not optimized. And as you know, if you look at the legacy business process management and some of those tools, they served us great, in last 2-3 decades. But those tools are very challenging to use today and stay up to date because the change is happening at a very fast pace. So, which means that as a process owner or as a business user responsible for that particular service or process, I need visibility and understanding, which I don't have today. Here a some point, because if you want to do it a traditional way, you start looking at some of the reports, maybe you hold some workshop, do some whiteboarding and sticky notes. And by the time you find a consensus on what you want to improve, there is a very, very high chance that things have already changed and maybe you should revisit that process. And that's what making it very, very difficult and time consuming. I've seen a couple of surveys which says, hey, it takes roughly 3 to 6 months to get this visibility and understanding into a process. It's very costly and it's error prone. And if given all that, now that's where it comes. How can we have tools and solutions that can do it in a more proactive way, in a more real-time way? So with that, our take is that process mining as a tool has enabled us or opened us many door for us. And what I mean by that is process mining is the starting point when you want to discover your process and you want to map out your process as fast as possible. Sometime within minutes, sometime within hours, depending on how much data you're looking at. But that is, I would say, table stake item. But then the next step from there is, okay, I have now the process visibility. I can see where I have performance issues, where do we have compliance issues. Then what you need is that how you can find out the areas for optimization. And that's where I think the things goes a little bit of, the core process mining. That's where you go into what are the actions, what are the recommendations, where can we create continual improvement plan, track them into one central place by breaking silos so that not every team is doing improvement their own way, and then finding it out that, hey, we improved in this area, but then it had a negative impact in some other area. So in this diagram, if I go from left to right, so half of the section is process mining. You take the audit log, you extract it out, but then the key thing here is you need a continual optimization framework. We call it SIM, Continual Improvement Management. Yeah, you need peer benchmarking, so you can do relative comparisons, and then you need purpose-built content pack or accelerators that can give you a quick starting point and a guided experience throughout the journey. Okay, so and this will make more sense when I'll talk about an end-to-end use case in a couple of minutes. So with that, what it means is that the process mining is staying closer to where your workflows are running and where your processes are running. And that is the key here, because what my view is that process mining is not just built for data scientists and the quote unquote business analytics person who is expert in understanding the data and can slice and dice. I believe that this tool should evolve to a more business user. That hey, even if I don't have the full domain expertise in understanding my process, the tools should be able to give me insights, tools should be able to give me the actions, and tools should provide me an end-to-end life cycle so that I can discover my processes, I can do my analysis, take those improvement actions, people related, process related, tools related, and then able to track the improvement over a period of time. This is my pre-optimization state, and this is my post-optimization state. And as you know, or as I mentioned in the beginning, this is not a one-time event. You have to find a cadence that works for you. If you want to do more kind of on a real-time data, that is also a possibility. But quickly, the persona that I have listed here, just to give this point across, that this tool is now moving beyond your typical analytics team or data science team. Business users, team managers, think of, you are a service management running a your customer service help desk or your IT help desk. How you can get insight into how is your team doing, their performance, what are the coaching opportunities, training opportunities, so on and so forth. Okay, so let me touch base on that. I mentioned the importance of when you are doing the analysis and when you find that, hey, I see this conformance issue happening in my process, let me take an action. So the question becomes, where should you track that action? Like in ServiceNow platform, as you know, there are many different places or different task type. Should I create an incident? Should I create a request? Should I create a change? And that might lead users into, again, the siloed approach. I think the best way to solve that problem is you provide a simple, centralized framework with X like plan, do, check, and act. So no matter what the improvement methodology you're using, whether you're using Six Sigma or the DMAC or anything else, I think this 4-stage process is where able to use the process optimization as a tool at every stage. And what I mean by that is identifying the opportunities as you do your process assessment, and then finding out the root cause, what is driving, what are the key influencing factors behind those inefficiencies, and then creating your improvement plan so that everybody knows who is working on what. You attach the trackable KPIs so you can see before and after state, and in the end, I think we all care about the some sort of an outcome, whether it's the business outcome or the I mentioned employee experience, NPS, CSAT, or those types of KPI. So let's start to make it much more, I think, tactical from this point on. So we saw, why process optimization is important. We saw how process mining, starting from process mining and building the rest of the end-to-end workflow is needed. And if you really want to drive this at the enterprise level, then there's multiple use cases. So one way to look at use cases is that, hey, if you're just starting out, maybe, my first goal is to discover the processes and see what's happening there, discuss as a team, and start to provide more visibility to your stakeholders. But I think the real value is, as I said, the mining, discovery, and those becoming a table stake items is that how you can drive the optimization, how you can do continuous monitoring and be more productive. And that's where the use of AI and ML as part of these solution stack is making that a reality. In fact, I'll talk about the use case I'll talk about has some flavor of that how you can ingest more real-time data and be more proactive. That, for example, hey, I care about SLA breach in service management, very important. And if during my process, if I see that that situation is building up, tell me where to look for, and then continue to kind of provide more root cause analysis out there. So now, where do you apply, right? So, and that's where I put together some example on this slide. In these, and this is not a very comprehensive list, but just to give you an idea, right? A platform like ServiceNow, We run multiple workflows. We have multiple products. We have workflows for IT. We have workflows for customers. We have workflows for HR teams, industry solutions. And the good news is that once you have process mining natively built on the platform, then applying the process mining and then the full process optimization lifecycle onto these processes becomes like very easy. So for example, like if you look into the incident IT service management, the core processes we have is your incident management, request management, problem, and change. And if your mining engine is sitting or integrated with where your workflows are running, you don't have to deal with sending data out into multiple clouds. There is no security and governance and like those issues. You don't have to deal with those kind of the legal things when you copy data across multiple systems. And then you can leverage other platform capabilities that you have or you may be already entitled for, the analytics, how you create those reports, or as I mentioned, the AI ML stack. Having that integrated into one platform, I think has its own benefits versus taking multiple tools and stitching them together and then trying to do your process optimization activities. Okay, so let me break it down some of the use cases, and I'll go to one end-to-end use case. So I think once you have the process optimization built on the platform, the key flexibility, all the different personas, I mentioned business users, team managers, of course, your process owner and business analysts alike, they can leverage process optimization from wherever they are working. They don't have to come to the process optimization tool. So I have my own workspace. I created my KPIs and dashboard. I'm an agent or I'm a manager. We see that embedding these capabilities, these insights and visibility to where people are working is what one part of the experience I mentioned earlier. So on this slide these are just 4 examples. First is, okay, if I'm a process owner, I can pick any process. I mentioned, the ITSM processes, HR, customer service, and others. That's one use case. You pick your process, you maybe have a set schedule, maybe a weekly or bi-weekly or monthly, and you are doing analysis, finding opportunities, creating improvement plan, and tracking the benefit. The second is like specifically in ServiceNow ecosystem, we have 7,000 customers, all big, large enterprises, and they have implemented ServiceNow tailored to their requirements, which means they have the KPIs and reports, and now we have this new process mining analytics technique. So think of, let's say, if you're tracking KPIs like customer satisfaction, and you're an IT manager. Now, as soon as process optimization enabled, those capability will automatically show up for you. You don't have to worry about that. Hey, I need to ask maybe my BI team to do this analysis. To a certain extent, I should be able to do the analysis by myself by looking at the map and the insight. The third point here is a predefined goal. For example, our CIO has this goal. One of the goal is save 1 million hours in our support and operation management services. So if you already have that kind of an OKR and a goal, then the question becomes, hey, how can we find out the opportunities? And that's where this combination of tools that are part of process optimization will enable you to find opportunities, and so that you can take more data-driven actions to meet your goal. And then, as you know, the one of the survey that we ran recently, where we asked, like, hey, what are the bunch of features and can you stack rank for us? And the compliance and the deviation, like the more proactive way to see if I have compliance issue in my process. And it's very important for some organizations. They have to go through the annual audit review and others. So they want to make sure their processes are compliant. And that is another use case, you get an alert, then you go to the process behind those records and start looking at the improvement opportunities. All right, quickly, let's dive into take one use case, and I'll walk you through. I don't have time to do a demo, but I'll use 2 slides to show you an end-to-end journey. The situation here is that, hey, I'm the VP of IT or manager, and then I care about my CSAT, SLA, and cycle time. I have this dashboard, and I came today morning and I saw my SLA metric or CSAT metric is trending bad. And maybe I came back from 1 week of vacation. And it's like, what's happening? If this is happening, this will impact many other KPIs that my CIO cares about. So immediately what you do is right from within the chart, wherever you're working, your workbench or your workspace, you go and say that, hey, show me the process behind these bad SLA records. So it's contextually taking those records, mining out process for you with a push of a button. And that's where you get the step number 1. Discover the process behind those records. And once you have the process map and the process workbench, all those great features that process mining provides you is all the slicing and dicing, all the different metrics by cycle time and by where you have the reputations and loopback. I can go into either looking at what is the root cause, and then is there an automation opportunity, or is it something, maybe process is fine, maybe we have new team members which we need to train them and coach them. So able to spot out those type of patterns, and then what you do is you take action. You don't leave it there, or you don't track that in email or in some PowerPoint. You want to do that within the tool, submit your improvement plan so everybody knows who is working on that, what is the time, expected time to make that change, process change or people change, and then you track it using the KPI. And the most important part is that able to do the pre and post depending on how big that improvement initiative was. So let's take a look at the 2 screenshot here to see the life cycle. So the first screenshot on the left is where I mentioned this is your workbench. You're tracking the SLA miss rate, and you see my trend is continuously going up, and I need to take action. So as soon as process optimization is enabled, you can directly go from there, because it's all within the platform and everything is data, one source of truth that you're looking at. And the second screenshot is that you mine the process, you're looking into the workbench and spotting out using tracking those routes and the process path. And once I find out an inefficiency, I see a loop back in the screenshot. I don't know how easy to spot out. Then I can create the improvement plan. I have the action right there. So that's what the life cycle part I mentioned, all built within process optimization solution. And I think this is the key. Maybe my personal opinion, able to give this end-to-end flow, because without that, it's again you are not solving the problem its entirety. Okay, so let me touch base on few other things. My personal opinion, again, that based on what I'm learning and reading and conferences like this, we are seeing that not new insight for you. I'm sure some other expert may have also spoken about it, but I see that every process has 2 sides. Okay, so the process part that execute on your cloud systems, where you have your audit logs, and that's what process mining is. But then the second part of a process is how your end users, your support agents, how they're interacting with that process from their laptop and desktop or whatever system they are using. And that's the important part of the process. And to have a comprehensive view, it is important to look at both sides, because the process mining itself does not give you 100% what's happening there, where people are actually really struggling, how many tools they are using, Excel or others. And specifically when you think about identifying the automation opportunity, I think looking at both sides is very important, because that will give you more comprehensive insight. Not an easy problem to solve. I know we all as an the process mining expert, task mining expert, trying to create this comprehensive view. But this is a tough problem to really bring everything together, because there's some data which is structured data, and then what's coming from the desktop is unstructured data, and then how you kind of club them and kind of make sense as part of the one map. So we'll see. I think somebody in the industry will solve it the right way, but this is the right path in my view. So quickly, looking at the clock, let me plan to wrap up here. So another thing that is important if you're working in this space is able to analyze all your data, or in other words, able to find all possible automation opportunities is the key. Because ultimately, what I've seen is CIOs and all those leaders cares a lot about automation rate. That hey, we are paying for these premium tools and services. I bought 10 RPA license. Where should I apply them? I have these 10 bots sitting idle. I'm paying for it, or I bought this virtual agent or other capabilities. So quickly, if you look at these are the 4 techniques that I see evolving. One is you can use AI to discover automation opportunities. What are the intent? Cluster them, and then you show that hey, this is a good use case or a step which you should apply. Virtual agents or RPA, for example. Process mining, of course. Task mining, we saw in the previous slide that it's important to look at the end user activities and behaviors and where they're spending time. Look for all the opportunities. And the last one is also very important. Provide everyone in your company ability to submit their ideas. Because when people interact with those processes, they know, I mean, intuitively, or they have at least the hunch that this process sucks. I know from my personal experience, if you ask me, I'll give you 5 ideas, because we all have been. And if I have a way to go and submit my ideas, and if I know that somebody is going to take action on it, that drives toward better employee engagements and overall kind of a crowdsourcing way for you to collect lots of ideas. Bring them into one central place, whatever you call it, COE, and then asking this one important question: what is my best automation candidate? And then you figure out what is the right tool to automate that, and what is my best optimization candidate from the process standpoint and from people standpoint. Let me close out with this one. Like from a framework standpoint, I think we should start from why. What are the KPIs? What are the goals we want to achieve? And I listed some obvious KPIs here: value, cost, quality, experience. Ultimately, I think it all ties to the experience. And then once you have your goals defined, you go into what are the opportunities. As I said, our CIO wants to save 1 million manual hours. So then what we are doing is we are looking for where to automate, how to simplify our processes, how to find training opportunities, and most importantly, where can we apply more and more automation. And that's where these these related tools, whether it's the process mining / process optimization, your AI-based discoveries, your observability, if you have infrastructures, events, and those coming up. And then once you know that these are my improvement opportunities or improvement plan, then you talk about how. And I know a lot of people get hung about how part. They say that RPA is way to go, or this AI model is way to go. I think that approach is not right. And anybody who has taken that, or go into different camp and start debating API is right or running a bot is right. I think the best way to, it's very contextual. It depends on how your infrastructure is laid out, what tools you already have. You don't want to pay, have multiple tools and pay doubling subscription. So that's where picking up the right tool for the given situation. I think that's the one best approach we all should think about, or personally, I think we should take. All right, so with that, let me stop the presentation here, and I'll open it up for Q&A.
Manjeet, terrific, Manjeet. Great review and the examples and the discussion. Process mining is a field that's developing so quickly, and as you highlighted in your presentation, now you have components of machine learning and artificial intelligence that's kind of being built into the mix as well. So we have a number of different questions here. Some are more business-like, strategic, other a little bit on the technical side. We'll cover as many as we can on the time that we have allotted here, and I urge the audience to ask additional questions if you have as we discuss. I'm going to start with the ones that are a bit more on the strategic side. You know, it's very easy for organizations to just go like, you know, as you know, the old saying, when your only tool is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. So I got my little process mining hammer and I started looking, hey, you know, I can use it here, I can use it there. But the question is, should you use it? And so if we back up a little bit more and we look at the business, and as you look across all the different businesses you work with, on the organizations that do it well, from a strategic execution standpoint and or a value creation standpoint, how do they identify and prioritize the best use cases, the ones that are, whatever their context is? The best could be, you know, greatest value creation, speed, customer satisfaction, a combination of things. But if you look back at their overall process for identifying, prioritizing both strategic and value creation opportunities using process mining, what does that look like that you have experienced with these clients?
Great question. So I would start with saying that you have to take both a top-down approach and a bottom-up approach. So let me break it down for you. When I say top-down approach, what I mean. So this could mean that you know, if your company is good at setting your strategies and goal, and like at least at the executive level, so you know what are those priorities, where, you know, which sectors we are playing, what is our business, what do we want to increase our revenue, do we care about, you know, expanding into different market. So I would say in the top-down approach, you start from there, and then as a process mining expert, or let's say come down to your business unit, or you starts to break it down. Okay, what it means if for my team or my business unit, whatever we are doing, how we can contribute to that goal. Okay, and so depending on what organization you are, I'll continue to give our service management examples, you know, IT services and customer services. So you can look at, let's say, if cost reduction is the goal. My company said we will reduce our services and operation cost by 20%. So that's my strategic goal for year 2021. And now that's where you go into looking at that. Hey, let's proactively analyze all the areas where we have the most dollar getting spent. And the good thing is these tools, they have evolved so much in the last 2-3 years, this combination of different analytics technique, and you start analyzing, find those drivers, and then starts to, and at that time, I would say you will not have full clarity, and then let me make a proposal. You're just getting a list of the possibilities that you can improve on. Then at the same time, you should also do the bottom-up approach, which means that you know, we really like this approach of creating an idea module and open it up for people and let them submit their ideas and vote them. And so that's a great way to see where you know, what's happening. What is the everyone else feel about that particular goal or particular problem. And then you look at both data set, have a very unbiased meeting. It's difficult, and that's where it takes time to build that culture, the culture of continual improvement mindset. And I think if you take a KPI driven or a data driven approach, then those meetings can be run properly, and ultimately you leads to a kind of a decision that, hey, let's make this proposal, let's make this improvement, whether it's a people related, process related, or tools related.
Very well. And then now, once you get into the point that you identify that, hey, you know what? Let's pick up a case here. I work for a large energy infrastructure project. We're doing a $1 billion power plant engineering, procurement, and construction project in Dubai. Now I have lots of processes that I do, and as part of that long-term project, and one of the processes that I may be looking at is that how am I procuring equipment for that specific project in that region of the world. And then I have now to identify, the key process there and the key sub processes associated with that procurement function in that part of the world. And now I zoom into that, and I have this feeling that if I use process mining, I can identify, what's being. There's a lot of procurement that takes place. There are some paths that are maybe the right way of doing it. There are other paths that are not so much the right way of doing it. A lot of it's done through my ERP system. Some of it is done outside of the ERP system. And so I ask you a question that's really very practical question. Complex issue here, complex process to tackle. But assuming, it's a big assumption, but assuming process mining can create value in that context, big picture first, what does implementation look like when you're going to an area that's new like that, and that with a group of people, qualified group of people who are looking for, but perhaps process mining can help us here. They have an inkling that process mining can create value in that context. What are the typical kind of timelines and phases that you go through with that team to actually implement and then run process mining and evaluate the results and start thinking about and start designing what the improvements could be? Kind of high level, if you can guide us through those main stages for implementing.
Yeah, sure. I'll give you my view on this one. So first is, if you look at where we are, like at the process mining, I think it does a really good job of standalone processes so far. More recently, the process mining community and researchers have found a way to connect data from multiple interdependent connected processes. And if I understood the question right, that is the scenario here. Because in this ERP system, you're not just talking about one platform. A part of the process execute, for example, in ServiceNow. A request is generated in ServiceNow. Then for fulfillment, it goes into another system, or like if a purchase request is created in Ariba or some other system, then it goes to Workday, and all these combinations. So I think the one exciting improvement that has happened is it's called multi-event mining. So which means that if you know what areas your process is touching, technically you can get those audit trails, bring them into your solution, and then it does require, of course, the expertise or understanding how those processes are flowing. But you can map them and interlink them in such a way. We call it a linked process analysis feature in our solution, so that you can, when you start analyzing, you start from your parent process, and then you understand, okay, what are the performance, the conformance scenarios, and whatever your goal is. And then you continue to drill down into each of the branch. I think the tricky thing now is the community has figured it out, the connection part, the backend part. Visualization is still very challenging, because no matter what approach you take, There's a few different techniques, BFM, BPMN, or direct forward graph. I think none of those existing visualization technique really give you a good user experience of traversing that connected or interlinked process path and then reaching to ultimately the, hey, this is where we have the bottleneck, this, let me do the root cause analysis. So my take is, I think people who are, mature in their process mining journey, it's a good 3 months or so, at least 3 months of exercise to find out, okay, how our processes are, how many systems are involved, how we will get the data into where you are running your process mining models, and then map those out correctly. So that's, I think it still requires people who understand and expertise how to map those out. But the hope is, I think once we solve for the right visualization technique, back end, what I've seen is we have made a significant progress.
This is very good. You cover a lot of very good concepts there about interconnected processes and the typical some implementation timeframes, like 3 months to kind of get things squared up. I'm gonna ask a bit of a leading question now. I have the assumption that when you go into implementing, process mining, and let's simplify the use case here. Let's say that I have, SAP HANA ERP system, and I'm like, I want to kind of analyze the flow for something that's within the ERP system. All right, to keep it simpler. So I have something like that, and I have the impression that the setup is where it takes the longest time to get process mining set up correctly. And then the analysis itself, probably once it's set up, the analysis itself is probably pretty quick. And then you go into some improvement cycle. But straighten me out here. What are you think are the biggest misconceptions that people have about the actual implementation of process mining? That clients come in thinking that it's going to be a certain way, but it's actually a little bit different, quite a bit different from what they thought. What do you think are the biggest gaps and misconceptions from clients' expectations versus what it's really like running and implementing process mining?
Yeah, sure. I mean, first of all, I truly empathize, because as a solution provider, we say that, hey, you can get going in hours or in a week. But I think the truth comes out when you take whatever tools you have and then you say, hey, let me forget about production. Let me do a POE, and that's where the promise starts to break, like 1 week to 1 month to 3 months. So I think one important thing is setting up a little bit of right expectation, not making blank statement that hey, our solution is agnostic to the platform, and then you just run it and in 3 hours process is in front of you. No, that's not true. But I think one way where I've seen many companies or the solution provider doing a good job is giving those pre-built content. I call it a process mining content pack. So which means for a given process like an SAP, when you look at P2P or those processes or service management, and think about incident management, change management, my dashboard is pre-built and everything is pre-built, then only if I don't have some crazy customization in my environment, then yes, you can get up and running within a day. That's how we are seeing in our deployment. But customizations are there. You have external integrations, your platform, and so I think when you go into those discussions, my advice is have a good set of checklists that this is how our processes are working, what type of analysis you want to do, how much data is involved, because sometimes the volume of data can really surprise and throw you out. Are you looking at 1 million event, or are you want to look at 10 million events? Because there's a huge performance scalability thing you should think about, and whether that tool can support or not. Yeah, so I think having that assessment checklist, ask your vendor who are talking to it that, hey, this is my environment, these are how many 3 platforms we have. Let's do an assessment so that we can come to a little bit of common understanding and expectation are not to like, 1 day versus 6 months. Yeah, so I would say, work closely, whoever your account representative, and that should give you a good idea about the effort involved.
Very well. Manjeet, thank you so much for taking the time to share your expertise with us. There were several other questions that came up that we couldn't get to. I tried to get to as many as possible. So here's my suggestion to the participants. Go under the LinkedIn posting that I have for this conference. It's under my name on LinkedIn. Post the question there, and I'm sure that Manjeet will be glad to go into LinkedIn and answer that. Can we make that commitment, Manjeet, that if they post the questions on LinkedIn, that you can provide a short answer to them?
Absolutely, and I make a promise I'll do it today. Not
there we go.
Question.
So please, if I did not have a chance to get to your question, like I see questions from William Fuller here, from Rajit Singh Gupta that I couldn't get to, post it on LinkedIn, and Manjeet will go in there and they will put a short answer for you. And that's the strength of our community. We have over 1,800 registered participants in here. Do not let your questions go unanswered. So Manjeet, thank you so much you woke up like at 5 a.m. in California to be here with us. So people of the world, please acknowledge that Manjeet first of all, looks great in the morning. Second, can share his great insights and expertise with our global audience. And on behalf of this global audience, we're very grateful for your participation and presentation, Manjeet.
Jose, it's always a pleasure to participate in an event like this. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Manjeet Singh, leader at ServiceNow for process mining and intelligent automation, and a real expert and practitioner in the field. So great to have him as part of our community and having this connection that we can continue our conversation even post-conference directly with Manjeet. We're going to be taking a break now, and when we come back, we're going to have a session that will be a little bit different. This will be a video session with leaders from leading enterprises with process mining, with advanced business process management. And I'm talking about Sandy Kamsley, who is an independent analyst and systems architect specializing in digital process automation, business process management, the social enterprise architecture, and business intelligence. She is going to be talking to us about process mining as a silver bullet. Is it? Is it not? She's going to be joined by Peter Gaudi, who is a senior executive that he spent much of his career focused on helping multiple clients understanding how to get the most information from their data and how to make improvements in their business transformation journey. So we're going to be back, and when we come back, I'll introduce them. We will play a video session for them, and then after that segment, in the next hour, we're going to be welcoming Ramesh Balanagu, from the head of digital automation for Avaya, and we're going to wrap up today with the lead enterprise architect for Mars, Wrigley, and Corporate, presenting on how to map the real impact of process mining on your business. So lots of great sessions coming up, and I will see you back at the top of this hour.